Hi, I'm Matt Simon, principal at Tab Group, and I'm here today with the CEO of Kenanga Deutsche Futures out of Malaysia, Azila Aziz, the CEO there. And we're going to talk a little bit about the growth story in Malaysia. And you're associated also with the Malaysian Futures Brokerage Association, the current president. So an extra special thanks for you coming to see us again. This has been somewhat of a routine for us, Azila. This is now the third time in 5 years that we've met. Last time in 2013, at the end of 2013, we were talking a lot about the access to the Malaysian markets, and CFTC approval was still kind of pending. We didn't actually hear the final approval until January of this year. Has that been a good thing for the Malaysian markets so far?
First of all, it's good to be back in New York here, and I'm happy to hear that you have been following the development of the Malaysian markets itself. Yes, that FBOT status finally was granted to Bursa Malaysia Derivatives sometime in January, and being a broker operating in an emerging market in Malaysia specifically, we are excited about it, and we are actually we feel that there's a lot of energy to it, and it will definitely and it will be on track to see the volumes grow over a period of time.
Speaking of volumes, so in the two key products, obviously Malaysia is known for its palm oil manufacturing and palm oil industry, and then the other key product, the index future. But there's also some other new products that are sort of kind of on the horizon. Where has the growth been coming from, and where have you been seeing it?
I would say that palm oil is still having that sweet spot on the exchange, but given the volatility that we have seen since August this year, index product, which is already a CFTC approved product, has shown a 50% increase in terms of volumes compared to a year ago.
Right, and we've seen a lot of fluctuation and volatility in the ringgit, the local currency, so I'm assuming you're seeing more activity and talks around how to actually trade the ringgit.
Yeah, at this point in time, there is no currency contract made available on BMD product, but it is certainly something that the local regulators as well as the exchange will be looking to project forward, and hopefully we will have a contract of such to enable a lot of hedging activity on our own local currency.
Speaking of the regulatory front and some of the rules, we were at FIA Expo, the industry conference, talking with a lot of global exchange leaders. And last week, the tagline of the event was "Global Reach, Regional Expertise." So when people think about Malaysia, they think of it as a foreign, faraway place with maybe rules that are a little bit different than other places. How much of that is true, and how much do you need a local expertise to be in those markets?
Being a futures broking company operating in an emerging market, and Malaysia specifically, where we paper with global clients with various jurisdictions, we are already in a logical progression towards conforming to those global rules. So I would say that given the current global rules, it doesn't mean that it refrains foreign participation into the market itself, because as you can see, for the two most actively traded products, foreign is still at 50% and above. So the people have found ways to actually connect, and there's already access which has been permissible, and we talked about it a couple of years ago. If I may add a little bit, as far as regulatory aspect is concerned, I would say some regulatory has worked in favor of us, and let us mention again on the FBOT status, that is definitely a good positive development for a small market like Malaysia. And also as far as from the US itself, we face clients who are already domiciled in US, and at the same time, we as a local broker, we are already conforming to the standards of reporting, which must be in line with CFTC requirements. Our clients who are based in the EU, there is already a whole lot of questionnaires that as a broker or counterparty to that particular client that we need to file in, and those are the areas covering in terms of best practices and as well as governance. So we are already embracing towards global
So it
requirements.
seems like it's a market that's open and available to U.S. and European investors.
That's right.
Locally, just what's the brokerage market like? When selecting a broker and thinking about a broker to use, and what are some of the challenges that you see in your own industry facing off with some of the other brokers?
Access to emerging market must be via a broker, and given the FBOT status, if you could relate that again, prior to having that access, a global client must have a relationship with a local broker. So I would say that as far as global, as far as new names who have entered the market, we have seen, we currently have about 20 brokers in Malaysia, of which I think 1/4 of that would be foreign names. And what it tells me is that compared to compared to the time when the brokers are all Malaysian based, right now we do have foreign names in the likes of JP Morgan and Credit Suisse. So what does it tell us? It tells us that they believe there's some growth story to tell about Malaysia, and therefore it makes sense for them to actually set up shops.
So here we are, end of 2015. The growth has been good. You've talked about double-digit growth in the primary two products. We got new products on the horizon. We have a regulatory scheme that's fairly consistent globally. Lots of better access through electronic means, not just doing voice trading. What's our predictions for 2016?
Let's take a look at things in retrospect. Compounded annual growth rate of about more than 18% the past 5 years, ever since access was being permissible. So going forward into 2016, I think volatility still is the name of the game, and people would still need to get certainty in prices given that situation. So therefore, I think conservatively, we're looking at least 10% growth for 2016, and driven by both local liquidity as well as foreign.
Well, I'd like to thank Azila for coming in again. Looks like the 2016 will be another positive market for the Malaysian markets, and still a lot to look forward to as the growth story continues. Appreciate your time. I'm Matt Simon, Principal at TabbFORUM.